Hello there and welcome to the Card Grotto. Today I'm creating a circle shaped card using the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero kit for May 2020. So let's look at the kit to start with. You get a 6x8 inch stamp set which is perfect for cards and also envelope art. And then you also get some dies. You get some coordinating dies for the stamp set as well as some standalone dies which you can use for envelope art, or you can also use on cards as well. You also get 4 envelopes, 2 A2 sized envelopes which fit cards at 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and then 2 A7 envelopes which fit 5 by 7 inch cards. And then you also get 3 carrying markers in the deco brush style. I thought I would just share with you quickly the samples that I made for the Hero Arts blog for the countdown. I did some envelope art, and I thought it would make a difference to maybe do the backs of the envelopes rather than the front of the envelope. So I used that hot air balloon from the kit, and then this is an add-on for the month, and this is the Cloudy Sky Scene dies. I apologise that they're a little bit difficult to see here in my packaging, but I cut those from some acetate and used those as a stencil to create the clouds on the back of the envelope, and just did some ink blending on those and then added the hot air balloons on top. And then for the larger envelope I thought I'd create like a little sun kind of envelope, something sort of bright and happy, and for this I used the sun background stencil, which again is an add-on for this month, and I just did some ink blending on the flap of the envelope and then used that sun die to create a kind of seal for the envelope, and that's one of the standalone dies that you get in the kit as well. And then I just cut a heart infinity die from the center of that. So let's get started for the project for today. I'm taking 2 of the images here from the main stamp set. I did initially stamp the lovely rainbow image there, but I found that it just didn't fit on my card in the end, so unfortunately I didn't use it. So you can kind of disregard that, but it is a really beautiful image. The plain image here has kind of like a line at the back so that you could add like a banner onto it or anything for like a message. I didn't want that, so I'm just masking that off and just using a little tool there just to get rid of any of the excess ink, and stamp that onto white cardstock. And then I'm just going to do some simple Copic colouring here onto the plain. I'm using Aqua colours, and these are the BG colours. So the darkest colour here is BG49, and then I go in with the BG15 to blend that out. And then I go in with the BG13 to blend that out further. And then I go in with the BG11, and this is quite a bit lighter in shade than the BG13. It does bleach out some of the colour, so I do go back in with that BG13 just to intensify that slightly, and then add that BG11 back on top. And I do a little bit of tip to tip colouring as well, just to make sure that I've got a really nice blend. And then I do just wipe off the excess ink off the top of that Copic marker, just ready for the next time because I don't want any of that extra colour on top. And then for that little bit at the top, I did initially go in with the aqua colours and then I went back over it with blues afterwards. And then for the kind of metal parts on the plane, I'm using C7, C5, C3 and C1. Just some cool greys there for the kind of metal parts. And then, like I said, I go back in with that kind of top piece and I go in with some lighter blue shades, the B000 and the B00. And then I'm just going to cut that image out with the coordinating die that comes in the kit. So just adding that on, adhering that with some low tack tape, and then I can run that through my die cutting machine. And then I've also cut 2 circles of white cardstock using the circle infinity dies, and then I'm going to take those cloud dies from the Cloudy Sky Scene dies set, and I'm just going to cut those pieces down further to create some clouds for my card. So just cutting 2 of those, and I wanted to have that circle. I find it easier if I'm going to create a circle card just to create everything on the circles to start with. And then I've taken the sun background stencil here and I'm just placing that over where I want that to be. I'm using my images here just so that I get the placement where I want it to be. And then I can keep that down with some post-it tape just to make sure that that doesn't shift. And then I'm going to use Lemon Drop Reactive ink first and just go over that top of that stencil. It doesn't matter about the bottom bit because that's going to be covered up by the clouds that I'm going to add on over the top. So it doesn't really matter how messy that portion gets. So just using that blending tool there just to add the colour on. And then I'm going in here with the Creamsicle colour just to add a bit of depth to that bottom part of where the sun rays would be. And I kind of go back and forth with the different brushes just to blend that out as nicely as I can. And then I can remove that stencil and I've got those really pretty sun rays. So next I'm going to add a bit of blue onto the cloud portions just so that they don't get lost completely and you can see the two different layers. So I'm using Splash Reactive ink for this, and again a blending tool just to add that onto the bottom portion of this piece. And then I'm going to add this blue quite a bit further up on this piece because you're not going to see the bottom portion because of the other cloud that's in front of it. But I want to make sure that you can see enough of the blue to have that above the top part of the lower cloud. So just going back in here and adding a little bit more blue to the top of that piece. And then I can stick those cloud pieces down. I did think about adding them with foam tape, but in the end just added them flat onto the card with some tape runner. And then I'm going to add the other elements with some foam tape. So just sticking that second one down there. And then I'm going to stamp out this sentiment that says sending hugs from the Prayers Stamp and Cut set. I'm going to stamp that down with some clear embossing and watermark ink using the mini MISTI here again, stamping that onto some pitch black cardstock. I did mask off the "and" at the end of the sending hugs "and" because I didn't obviously need that sentiment. And then I'm applying some detail white embossing powder, just tapping off the excess there, removing any excess with a dry paintbrush, and then I can heat set that until it's completely melted. And then I'm just going to cut that down into a strip. I've then cut two slightly larger circles from Paradise cardstock and I'm going to use those as my card base. So I'm going to take one of the pieces and I'm going to add a scoring line at the top of that. That's going to create the hinge to be able to open the card, and then I'm just going to create a scoring line at the bottom just to be able to cut that off. I just want to make sure that that's going to be straight when I cut it, so just using a mini guillotine here just to cut that piece down, and that's just going to make it so that the card stands up really nicely without having to cut the front portion. So I'm now taking that image panel here and I'm just going to add some foam tape onto the back of that and stick that down onto the front panel of the card. And then I can add the plane again with some foam tape and then also the sentiment. I do end up moving the plane down slightly because I add a couple of extra elements on later on. So I thankfully didn't press down too hard with that and I could manage to lift that up. So just adding that sentiment down there at the bottom. I'm then temporarily adhering that back panel onto my glass media mat here, and I've just used some post-it tape to hold that down so that it's straight, and then I can add the front piece of the card on top. I'm not pressing down really well at the top hinge there because I want to try and stand it up, make sure that everything is straight before I press down nicely. And once I know that it's straight, I can press that adhesive down at the top and then that's going to fold really nicely to make a circle card. I've next taken some Hero Hues enamel dots and just adding a few of those around the sentiment piece, and it was at this point I decided that I wanted an extra element on my card, so I'm stamping out the little hearts from the stamp set and colouring those with Copic markers. I did fussy cut those out, there are no coordinating dies for these ones. So I'm just adding some foam tape onto the back of these little hearts here and just adding those on. I felt that it kind of, I don't know, balanced out the design a bit better, just having those hearts at the top there and also at the bottom. And then I'm just adding some Aqua Shimmer pen onto those hearts for a little bit of sparkle. And that's my card finished for today. As you can see, it does open and close really nicely with that hinge on the back. And then this is the rainbow that I did end up colouring in but I didn't use. So I thought it might look quite nice on the back of the card, or I could add it onto the envelope. Links to the products that I used will be in the description bar on YouTube and also over on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.